Don't live the dream. Live your dream. Live your dream. Live your dream. Live your dream. Let's talk about this particular deal. Okay, so how did you guys find, like, walk us through, how did you find the lead? What was the negotiation kind of like, the numbers and stuff? Kind of walk us through this particular deal.
Yes, this particular deal was actually a deal that our VA originally hit on. So we were pulling lists in Oklahoma, absentee owner, okay, high equity, so the VA connected with this particular seller, and the property that we actually contacted her on, she wasn't interested in selling.
Okay.
But she said, I have several other properties that I'd love to talk to them about. So I called her within like an hour of our VA talking to her and had a long conversation, learned a ton about, you know, her situation and everything she had been through. And there was a lot of weird, like, familial, like, intra-family transfers. And, like, it really seemed like a tricky, I really wasn't sure if it was going to work at all. Like, even like an offer, because, you know, her uncle had passed away, but he had all these back taxes. So there were a lot of elements. And it ended up being 3 months. Like, we originally made contact with her in October. And we didn't even get her to agree or get to the point to where she could agree or accept a formal offer until December.
Okay.
So, and I had to do a lot of hand holding, you know, I had to I spent a lot of time, like, calling, like, the tax assessors, like, okay, can you explain this to her? Like, can you explain what needs to happen here? What needs to happen here? But ultimately, she had 4 properties.
Okay.
4 properties that she had purchased out of the sheriff's sale, but they were her uncle's. And she lives in California and had never even seen them.
Wow.
And didn't know what the status was, didn't know if there were people in them. So we got people out, we got boots on the ground, had people go over there. We were telling her things she didn't even know. We were sending her pictures like, you know, here's the status of this house. You know, we think you have tenants in this house. Like, we provided a lot of value to her.
I see. Yeah.
You know, but we knew based on what the numbers, so the numbers really basically worked out to be 12 and a half a property. So 12.5, and we paid. Yeah. And then we ended up finding an end buyer who we made $5,000 a property. So we ended up building our assignment fee for all 4 was $20,000.
Wow. That's nice.
Yeah. So it ended up being, like, amazing, but it was really, really tough, and the deal almost fell apart like 10 times. But it was one of those things that once we got through, like, probably about halfway through the process, and sort of saw how we could provide value to these, you know, sellers who had been contacted. She had been contacted by multiple investors, but everyone gave up because the situation just on paper looked really, really complicated.
Okay.
And, you know, most people were like, no, like, this isn't going to be easy money, you know, but we knew that if we could take the time to work through and to solve and, like, fix all the problems that were keeping people from doing it, there was a lot more on the out sale for us.
Right.
So we ended up helping her, like, work through. She had like $4,000 in back tax total, about $1,000 of property. We got her in touch with the tenants, so she was able to, like, make contact with the tenants, and she was able to actually get rent for 2 of the months that we were, like, through all of this. So that was kind of cool. She had a falling out with the property management company she had been using, and, like, hadn't heard anything, you know. We helped her through some utilities things, like, just a lot of different ways that we were able to, you know, bring value and just work through the deal, because ultimately it wasn't that tricky, and none of it were things that kept the property from being able to be transferred. They were just things that, for the end buyer, it was hard at first for us to find an end buyer, because most people were like, no, we don't want to have to deal with, a tax lien, or we don't want to, they didn't want to catch the tax lien up and do, this.
Right.
So originally, actually, like backing up a little bit, when we originally talked to her, we had agreed at $16,000 a property.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the ultimate deal was she subtracted the amount she paid off the back tax, so we took off that amount.
Gotcha.
The amount that would have been paid, or that had to be paid, ended up getting removed, subtracted out of the deal, and then it was taken care of by title. So she walked away with 12 and a half, but ultimately the cash that was funded was enough to cover our assignment fee.
Nice.
And, close it. So.
Gotcha. So let me ask you, this is a crazy deal. A lot of moving parts to it. So did you guys kind of split up roles? Like it was like, Richard, okay, I want you to handle this part. All right, I'm gonna handle this part. Did y'all split those roles up?
Yeah, big time, because she's a better communicator a lot of times.
Okay.
I felt like she needed to take the role of more so negotiating with the other female seller, because, women obviously
exactly
level.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with the guys, boots on ground, checking the house out, doing inspections. We're finding new stuff about the property every day. So it was easy because we had a really, really nice guy back home in Oklahoma who was, basically our eyes and ears down there. And he was like, he was more than we could have asked for. I mean, we didn't sign up as like an acquisitions guy or anything. He was just like, I want help, et cetera, et cetera. So, we built a relationship through this particular transaction. So he'll be somebody we can use going forward. Yeah, it was definitely a splitting roles thing, because had I been communicating with the lady, I'd be like, well, we just going to the next deal.
Exactly.
I'm not getting ready. I want 16. No,
right.
I'm getting the third. That's just my tactics. That's me. More of an aggressive approach. So, yeah, it worked out for sure.
Definitely. Okay. So you got, how did you guys find the buyer?
So the buyer actually reached out to us in response to the ad we created on Craigslist. I'm sorry.
Craigslist, okay. We
put up an ad on Craigslist, and we were shooting too high at first. Like we were really hoping there was, a little bit more in it, and we had to do some, negotiations with him. But at the end of the day, like we ended up with this cash buyer who he's buying 100. He has 112 properties already. He's looking to buy 100 more in the next 18 months, and he and I talk almost every day.
Nice.
And I'm feeding him, all of our new stuff, and he's giving me feedback as to what he can pay, and that helps me, And that was where this deal had we done it the other way, probably would have been easier, because had we connected with him prior to negotiating with her, we would have come in, our offer would have been different to her up front. Exactly. I had to do some backtracking with her in regards to the tax liens. When I found out that flat out, most of these big cash buyers don't want to, they're like, that's a problem, that's an issue, it either needs to be handled at the closing. We're not going to be doing that. We're not going to be coming out of our pocket that. Here's our number. You need to figure out the rest of that with her.
Right.
That was helpful too, because had that dialogue happened earlier, I definitely would have adjusted my strategy. But ultimately, it turned out that we ended up with this great cash buyer who was super easy to work with, and he's even willing. One of the models that they have is that they portfolio up a bunch of properties in a particular zone, and then they sell those off to a larger investment group.
Okay.
So one of the contracts or one of the deals that we created with him is, we essentially agreed to take less at this first closing, but we have a deal where we get 50% if he is to flip these to this hedge fund in the next 36 months.
Oh, nice.
Half of that profit.
Okay. Okay.
He sells on a cap rate basis. So on this particular deal, the cap rate based on the rents and all that, op expenses, when we had them under contract, we had them under at about 42%. By the time they bought them at $75,000, it was about 13%, but they have buyers that are buying at 8%.
Right. It's nice.
So there's some, so we could end up getting paid out again by this deal.
That's good. So that's what I want guys, that's anybody listening to this or watching this, is understand that the first thing that they both did is provide value. Provide value and build relationships. That's the most important thing you have to do in this business, because it's a people-to-people business, right? You could have easily been like, listen, this too much work. We're gonna move on, right? You got to go find the rent stuff on your own. Find out somebody living there. I ain't doing all that, right?
Yeah.
But instead, it's like, okay, how can I provide value to the seller for them to get the trust factor in, so that way, when it's time to talk numbers and everything else, seller's on board.
Yeah.
And that's what.
Yeah, we totally could have like flipped it for $2,500 probably and just saved ourselves all the trouble. Like we could have just put a really super small assignment fee on it and basically gave it away. Like someone else who did want it, but we knew that we knew there was value in this area. We knew that because these were occupied units, there was someone was gonna bite on them because there was instant cash flow there.
Exactly.
And even at the price, they were at, I mean, I think several of them, even just the fair market value through the tax assessor was double what we had them under contract at the higher price for.
Okay.
So we had a lot of stuff to sort of back up. But at the same time, there's depreciation. I mean, these weren't great tenants. These were tenants that had trashed the front yards. It wasn't ideal, but we knew that there was a number that would work. And in this situation, even though we went in thinking, oh my God, we probably make $50,000. It was the first time we looked at it.
Right.
I remember sending them to you, and you were like, I don't know. You were like, this is kind of tight. And I was like, dang it. I remember saying to Rich, God dang it. I don't know what it's going to take, man, but I swear I'm going to get these numbers right, because it was so frustrating. I kind of looked at it and I'm like, oh man, we easily have, 50, 75, and then, but really, we really started, tightening up on our numbers and then chatting with you, and you were walking us through, but you got to look at these. There were a lot of foreclosures in this area.
Yeah.
And that was driving, just looking at it on paper, looking at the comps, that was tough, because you really can't argue with someone who bought a house for $3,000. I don't really care if it was a foreclosure or not. The bottom line is they bought the property for that amount, and now you want me to pay this?
Yeah.
But, we just had to, and it was some creative marketing too, because we ended up, having to work a deal with her. The fourth property she originally told us was occupied, and we had been marketing it as occupied, and then we found out that someone was squatting in it. They weren't
oh man. So how'd y'all hire somebody to get them out? How'd y'all get the squatter out?
But we had a guy, the guy who was on the ground was literally our savior.
Yeah.
And
he was bomb.com.
And he found out that it was the neighbors living in both houses.
Oh,
and we had a document drawn up that was permit to enter. We just pulled it right off the internet, had her sign it so that he looked official. He went over there in a yellow little vest and a hard hat and was like, hey, we know this property's supposed to be vacant. We know you're not supposed to be here. What's the deal? And the guy was like, oh, she told me I could be here. And he's like, no, she didn't. We know she didn't, because she, she thought that it was somebody else. Yeah. So and they were out the next day.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
They ended up being pretty easy. I think it totally could have gone another way. But ultimately it was very tricky, but we didn't want to settle for a small assignment fee, because we knew there was value there. And we were still, even when we agreed to, in our minds, the smaller assignment fee of $20,000, I still felt like we were leaving so much money on the table. And that's why I proposed to our cash buyer that we be cut in on the out sale of whatever he does, whenever he flips them, if he chooses to flip them.
Okay.
And he was really receptive.
That's good.
And that was what was surprising. I was so afraid of bringing that to him. I thought I was going to seem greedy, and I was going to seem, and he was like, I think that's probably pretty fair. You've done a lot of work here, and and yeah, he was awesome. And he knows we're going to bring him, because we were already bringing him as we were, working through this deal, other deals.
Okay.
So I think ultimately it was more of a relationship. He wanted to nurture that relationship and make sure that he did something to bring values to the relationship as well, because we were doing so much to bring value. So
absolutely.
He met us in the middle, and I don't think that doesn't happen every time, but
no.
Yeah, right.
But never be afraid to ask.
Listen, you got to open your mouth. Closed
Yeah.
mouths don't get fed.
Ever.
Big time.
So you got to open your mouth. Okay, so for everybody that's listening, guys, Richard and Allie did this deal 100% virtually. Did you guys take a foot in this house at all? Any of these 4 houses?
Wow, we've never.
Not at all.
We're 1,900 miles away.
See, and that's what I want people to see. I like doing these is to show people that, listen, it is real that you can do this business virtually. You need somebody on the ground. You need to have your systems in place, right? You need to have a team, infrastructure put into place, but you don't have to physically be there. You don't have to physically walk through the house. You're not renovating the property, so you don't have to know everything about it. You just get somebody else to know that stuff and be your, eyes and your boots on the ground, and you can totally make this business work. So are you guys going to continue on marketing Oklahoma City?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a great market, and that's where I'm just so happy to get really lucky. The 2 acquisitions guys who we brought on are basically extremely familiar with that area and basically hometown boys. So, they know where a lot of pockets of the areas are, and they're really, really sharp, really, really good salesy guys who've had a lot of sales experience in the past. So, I mean, it was like one of those things that it just fell into place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so for anybody that is thinking about, and I tell people, listen, my mentoring program is closed. You watching this right now, it's closed. I don't know when I'm going to open it up.
Right.
I'm so focused on my own 2 businesses that I'm running. But whenever the hell I decide to open it up, for anybody that's watching this, would you recommend my mentorship program to anyone?
Absolutely. 1,000%, hands down.
Yeah, I know I definitely would, because there's a lot of things you can find on YouTube University, but when you need like the bread and butter, this is how you do it, A, B, C, direct, straight to the point, like when you really want to learn the information, I mean, those resources are invaluable. I mean, the 2 courses that I made it through one in like 2 days, and I felt like I knew everything I needed to know, and it was just bulletproof. So where now I'm like, okay, shit, I just need some leads. I'm ready to go now.
Yeah.
Right.
You even gave us some of those.
And send me with some leads. So absolutely. Yeah, we recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, and I think like for me, it was being able to be in touch and just have that feel like we're not like totally going into this blindly, and especially on the offers front, because you can do that little the ARV calculate, but you have to learn how to pull comps, and that was something that it was so valuable when you got involved. And even as an investor, just fix and flips, I always thought I knew how to run comps, really, but with this, it was extremely important, because for those quicker, for an assignment, I mean, you have to be locked in to get someone to take over the contract, not buy it once you got it and fluffed it up, and that it needs to be solid in this raw state. And that's a totally different way. And had it not been for you, we wouldn't, God only knows.
Well, I appreciate you guys' kind words. So anybody that wants to, because you guys have several businesses. I know you guys are not just real estate wholesalers.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to connect with you for any real estate, well, matter of fact, tell everybody, what other businesses do you guys have? So people that's watching this can.
So we have a couple other things going on. One is Vibe Media Management. We've actually started managing some artists that, we feel are going to be extremely successful, and we're going to take our management capabilities and put them full steam to work with those guys. And then, of course, with my background in physical fitness, I still do part-time some private fitness training for professional athletes also. So we were extremely busy throughout the whole process.
Right.
It was like, okay, this can be done. And that was the whole point of taking it virtual. It's like, okay, I need to have something I can work virtually and still be hands-on on my other things. And, with you showing us those systems, it was streamlined.
Absolutely. Okay. And so if anybody has some deals in Oklahoma City, if you got some deals in Colorado and Denver, you want to reach out to Richard and Allie. Can you guys, I'll make sure I put it somewhere on this video. What's the best way, you want to Instagram or email or whatever, to reach out to you?
Yeah, just reach out to us on Instagram.
Okay.
We're more than happy to talk to people more too about like getting this deal from A to Z, because it is complicated and
Right.
you
You
can't
didn't
really
even go into everything. Like we probably could have.
Yeah,
Man, we
like
could have talked for a whole nother
yeah,
hour.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's so true. But I think the biggest thing is, yeah, like just don't ever be scared away from like a deal, even if it looks scary. Just like know that like there can be a larger payday in it for you, and ultimately that's the key to freedom. Like
Absolutely.
working these deals for $500, $1,000, I mean $2,000, like that's great, but even those deals take work.
Mm-hmm.
No deal is just totally like, you know, free of any effort.
Right.
And in this case, it was really, really valuable to spend that extra time, that extra effort, to see the larger payday.
Definitely. Well, I'm proud of you guys. I want to say congratulations to both of you. This is just the first one of many, right? And you know, a lot of people, they only flip one home the very first time. You guys flip 4. So this is really just the beginning. You're gonna have so much more deals. I already know you guys are gonna be so much more successful. So I just want to say thank you, because some people, you know, I give them the opportunity to share with them these things, and I never take it for granted people like you guys that actually take it and run with it. Because you know, some people, you give them an opportunity and they don't do anything, and it's like, well, what did you invest in this for?
Invest in your money. You got all the tools in the world.
Even just the courses, like even though your mentor program is closed, your courses, like we had spent so much time on YouTube. We're part of so many Facebook pages that are really active, and you know, we had tried to rock with a couple other mentors before we discovered you, and were met with like just nothing, you know. So yeah, I mean, I would say even just taking like just going through your courses, for anyone who's starting out and just is lost and unsure, and like that's a great way to start, because even before we started asking you questions, we went through the courses.
Yeah, we knew a lot.
And we knew a lot. And that kept me particularly from even having to lean on you. Like I know, like I didn't even talk.
Yeah,
like,
for
are
real.
you there? I would have like all these little boxer things. Like you done missed 26 messages. I'm like, I'm over here. I'm chilling. I'm good. I'm over here. Working my leads. I'm on the phone. I'm rocking. Hey, if I got a question, I'm gonna refer right to the course. I'm gonna go right into even forms. Even, you know, there were a couple times when we were lazy and out and about, and he would hit you up like, hey, yo, you have this, you have that. You would send it right over. But 9 times out of 10, like we didn't. It was so like the mentorship was amazing, and it was great to know it was there. It was a confidence that was really important for me. But had we not had it, I'm confident we would still be here having this conversation.
Yeah,
I'm confident that with just the courses, just with that mentor, just with the, you know, non-personal mentorship, through that, like we could have gotten to this point.
Right.
Absolutely. All right, so guys, once again, I appreciate if anybody that's, you know what I'm saying, tuned into this, I'm going to make sure I include their social media links so you can reach out to them, add them as a friend, or follow them on the gram. And once again, I appreciate you guys, and I wish you much more success.
Thank you so much, bro. We appreciate you.
Definitely.